Like most Canadians my age, I rent my apartment, and Pierre Poilievre doesn't care about any of us. The Conservatives finally released their costed platform yesterday, and I Control-F'd the doc to see if the word rent comes up anywhere in the 30-page proposal. It comes up twice. Once on page 4 when Pierre points out yet again that the rent is too damn high, and again on page 10 when he commits to, quote, reversing the liberal rent hike on military families. As someone who comes from a military family and lived on a base as a kid, I'm sure my parents would have been stoked to save a couple bucks on rent each month. But what about rent control for the millions of us that don't live on military bases? 1/3 of Canadians are renters, 33%. It's the highest percentage ever recorded, and it's being driven by shit like a 500 square foot condo in Vancouver costing $1 million. Housing in Canada is largely managed by the provinces, but the feds can step in and pressure them to protect renters from price gouging. For instance, the federal NDP has promised to bring in national rent control. Why isn't the party that's catering to the working class and young people proposing something similar? Because there are only 2 words in the English language that Pierre Poilievre hates more than security clearance.
If I got the secret security clearance briefings, that I would be gagged.
And they are government regulation. Poilievre, like fellow pro-worker politician Margaret Thatcher, who once sicked her goon squad on a bunch of striking miners, has said that the guy who made the greatest impression on his political thinking was Milton Friedman, the free market evangelist who spent his entire career lecturing politicians and sometimes dictators that they should let American corporations do whatever the f they want. Poilievre's little crush explains his housing plan, which besides excluding the millions of Canadians who rent, would largely benefit speculators, developers, and people who can already afford a down payment on a place to live. It also explains his climate plan, which is literally just cutting red tape to build a bunch of clean LNG terminals. There is a guy who stands to gain a lot from Pierre's climate and housing proposals. That guy is Republican megadonor and longtime Trump advisor Stephen Schwarzman, who heads the private equity giant Blackstone. Because a couple months before Blackstone secured an ownership stake in Canada's largest telecoms company, they bought into the PRGT pipeline and Ksilism's LNG terminal, the latest proposed monstrous fracked gas project here in BC.
If you want these monstrous, big, beautiful projects to go ahead.
If Pierre gets in, these Blackstone-backed projects will be fast-tracked. Never mind that Ksilism's is a floating LNG terminal that'll be built overseas with Chinese and Korean steel, meaning it'll devastate BC salmon rivers and barely employ any Canadians. The terminal would also raise domestic gas bills and make baby drill Donny very happy, but Pierre doesn't care about any of that so long as the CEOs and lobbyists pulling his strings make lots of money. And men like Steve would greatly benefit from Pierre's housing proposal to axe the sales tax on new homes under 1.3 million because there's no upper limit to how many homes you can buy. So if you buy more, you save more money. And Blackstone owns billions in Canadian rental properties, and they're looking to expand. So if I were an executive in charge of Blackstone's Canadian real estate division, a policy that boils down to, as Steve Boots pointed out, buy 9 houses, get the 10th one free, would make me very happy.
Boots. No, it's suits.